Yo,
Welcome.
couldn't get my camera working, but
You know, in the life of a professional streamer,
yeah, hardly.
yeah,
Hardly.
you were late because you were playing the new Helldivers patch.
It's actually pretty sick. It's pretty darn sick, if I do say so myself.
It's not like an expansion, right? It's just a patch.
Yeah, I guess it's a patch, but like, I mean, they released the new enemy, the new faction, the Illuminate. Technically speaking, it is just a patch, but I mean, they also did new DLC as well,
Yeah.
which is sweet. I'm not echoing, by the way, am I?
No, I
Okay,
can hear
good.
you just fine.
All right, good. And yeah, it actually looks pretty
Yeah, I
awesome.
fired it up last night for 5 minutes and then realized I don't remember how to play this game.
Well, I'll play tonight. If you want to play tonight, I will play tonight.
Here live on the Endor Labs LinkedIn
That'd be actually kind of sick.
page and Twitch and YouTube.
You know, I've always said part of the interview process, Ron, should be we should play a round of Helldivers with the candidate to see like how people react in chaos, just to see what it would be like.
Yeah, 100%. Just can you perform under pressure is the real
Yes,
question.
that's exactly it.
Speaking of patches, saw my my segue there.
That's actually pretty good. I'll give you that one.
What are you going to be fixing today?
All right, we're gonna fix some Jackson data bind.
Okay.
All right, let me just get rid of some stuff here. Make sure notifications are paused.
How often is Jackson data bind updated by the maintainers?
It depends on which version you're talking about. The thing is with Java, it's like there's so many older components and like everything's like a stack of cards where it's like, okay, let me take this jacket off. Where it's like, okay, if I change one thing somewhere, it's probably going to mess things up everywhere else. And because I don't want to say it's like legacy, but it's like so many things can change from one version to the other. And there's so many like components that you can use. I'm not talking like open source components. I'm talking like methods and functions that are used to do so many things because they're just used for like such large ecosystems that it's like when you change one thing, it like screws up 100 other things. So it is actively maintained and it is a very common deserializer to like process information, but it's just so there's so many parts to it.
Yeah, is that why it's because that's one of the ones that I keep hearing about when we talk about patches and Endor patches. It's usually we're talking about Spring, we're talking about Jackson data bind. Those are the two that I keep hearing about.
Yeah, because those two, I forget the exact statistic, but this is in a paper or something that we wrote where it's like there's only like a handful of Java components that account for like 80% of the vulnerability. Some crazy number, like 60 or 80%. Like 20% of the components account for like 60 or 80% of the vulnerabilities in Java.
Yeah.
Which is why we started with Java with patches because of that exact thing. If you do it for something like JavaScript, right? Like patches for JavaScript. JavaScript moves so quickly and it's updated so often, and it's as far as the like complexity of the innards of certain components, they get updated so quickly and they're pretty good with like backwards compatibility that it's like not as big of a problem in something like JavaScript or in Python. Like the Pythonic way is to be always on the latest version of your components, so you don't see this problem as often as like in something like Java. Or .NET is another good example where that's probably what we'll have patches for in the future. Is the next one will probably be .NET. That's what I'm hoping for anyway, because it's a good one to have. But this is a big problem in Java specifically, which is why we do it. So what we're gonna do
before you dive in, can you just explain what's remediation with Endor Labs in general, what the patches are?
Yeah. So patches is this. we are taking, let's say you have, let's take Jackson data bind. I'm just going to use easy numbers here. There are a ton of vulnerabilities in Jackson data bind 1, version 1. And version 2 fixed all those vulnerabilities. However, with that version change, a ton of other stuff got fixed, or a ton of other stuff changed. Like not vulnerability fixes per chance, but just like additional functions or method change or something like that, right? So additional capabilities were added, whatever, removed, whatever have you. So what we do is we say, okay, let's just grab the fix that was put in version 2 and bring it into version 1. And now that's now our version of Jackson data bind. We're not going to bring any of this other functionality, any of these other changes. We're just going to say, okay, this is what was fixed in version 2. Let's bring that on over. And we're not going to bring anything else over. We're going to run the test. We're going to review it, obviously. We're not just going to blindly throw it in. We'll review it, reproduce the build, produce the test logs, do all of that to say, okay, you can comfortably use our patched version of Jackson data bind 1 that includes the fixes only from version 2 and bring it on over. And this is good for, you know, another common one, like you said, with Spring, where, you know, anybody who said like every tool is just going to say like, oh, upgrade from version Spring, you know, Spring 3 to 4. Anybody who's says that has never like actually done it because it's so hard to do. That's like a 6-month project or an 8-month project. You can't like just upgrade that. So what we said is, okay, while you do this project or until you have time to do this project or to whatever have you, use our version of Endor Spring that has the patch vulnerability. So that way you can meet SLAs. You don't have to worry about these critical, potentially reachable, guaranteed reachable that will show you all that fun stuff. But you can have them fixed in the meantime. And some people are like, oh, I'll just keep that. That's fine. I'll just keep your Endor patch. I'm good with that.
It kind of means that when you upgrade, you can upgrade for functionality and not necessarily just to get to a fix that then will force you to waste a whole bunch of work that really doesn't impact anything.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah, we saw, I don't remember which customer it was, and I don't think I'm allowed to say, but I do remember that we saw that with one of our customers, we saw that a handful of patches can take away like 50%, 70% of their criticals.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did that one, that report. It was by implementing patches, they could fix 35,000 critical and high vulnerabilities that they had. 35,000, which is like insane. By doing what we're going to show today is just implementing the patch.
All right. We're not leaving this stream until you fix 35,000.
Yeah. I'll fix like 10.
Okay.
Actually, I forget. I think it's 35 high and 3 critical. Remember that number.
Okay. Remember the ring.
Remember it's a ring. Good Lord, that's funny. All right, so here's what we're going to do. First off, let me just do a screen check. You tell me. Present, share screen, entire screen. Let's do screen 1. Okay. This is good for size. Like it's not too small or anything.
Yeah, I can see it just fine.
Is this too small? I can make this bigger.
Now. Oh, yeah, you should make that a little bit bigger. Yeah, I think that's fine.
There we go. It's like huge on my screen, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
This is good. Okay. Cool. So we've already scanned.
Let me know if you want some background music going.
If you want, just make sure we don't get copyright.
Oh, no. It's all royalty.
You have a playlist for that? Oh, yeah. Man. All right. This is great. This is so actually, you know what I can even do? Check this out. Got a light behind me. I got a light bar.
You see, now we're streaming.
Now we're streaming. Now we're
Yeah.
streaming, man. This is great.
Okay.
All
Let's
right.
go.
So we have this application, right? This vulns Spring Boot. Okay. I feel like I need to be going with the music or something. It's fun. We've already scanned it in Endor. All right. So in Endor, I have this, and we have some remediations. You'll see, hey, Endor patch available. This one, we don't have a patch available for this one, but that's fine, because honestly, you're going to be able to fix all these. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is the other thing, like, a question I get asked a lot is, how do you pick like what to patch, like what components to patch? And first one is like, well, what's the biggest bang for our buck here? Is like how much stuff actually gets fixed. The other thing is like, if another version has a very low risk remediation, do we need to make a patch for that? Is it very active? Is it like one of those JavaScript components that like you don't really need a patch for it? Like Jackson data binding is a good example for that, because every time they upgrade, like a lot of things change, like I mentioned.
Do you need the Endor CTL scan? Like, do you need to be using RSCA in order to do this?
No, you don't need to. You don't need to be using you could just get patches if you want. Like if you're like, hey, I got these like 5 components that are real pain in the butt for me. They're equating to like 35,000 vulnerabilities. I'm locked in a contract for 3 years with the current SCA tool. Wish I could get you guys. You guys are awesome. Mm-hmm. Right? But like, can you help me with patches? Yes. You could just buy the patches, like, and that'll work fine. Which is really nice. So like, one thing that we're working on, and we've talked about this, where it's like, okay, let's make a website, or just give me an SBOM of the packages and the version numbers, and we'll tell you if we have a patch available for it. And pretty soon, I know we'll have a website that you can go to to say like, hey, here are the patches we have available. Mm-hmm. And then you could say like, oh, they have Jackson data bind at 2.9.10.3. I should get that one. And then you'll be able to just use that and get that, which is nice. So like, this is what we're actually going to fix. And what you can kind of see here is like, okay, currently I'm on 2.9.10.3, right? If I go to 2.17.2, yeah, I'm going to fix these really bad vulnerabilities, but there's a big breaking change here. And if I upgraded it and then tried to build it again, it's not going to happen. I think we looked through that last week when we actually were testing out upgrade impact analysis, mm-hmm. where we then actually upgraded and then tried to build it and wouldn't build because of this exact method here was changed. So we say, okay, we have a patch for that. That will fix the same 3 critical and 35 high. There aren't breaking changes, and these are the patches for it available. So we actually highlight what exactly we're changing, what we backported. And it's like, okay, we've gone ahead and we've added 523 and took away 135. Like, this is the actual patch for us, for mm-hmm. this component. And if you do want to see this stuff, yes, you have to pay for it. It's actually locked behind a screen. Right before this, I was like, oh, that's right, it's locked behind a screen kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it's not only that. Like, we'll tell you, okay, well, here are the build logs, and we'll actually provide the build logs. Okay, well, test logs, right? The reproducible build, the deploy logs. Why do we give this? It's to tell you and tell people like, yeah, we've done our work around this. Like, this is us being very transparent and saying like, you could trust that these work and these are actually legit fixes. And here's all the evidence for that. Here's the proof for all that. And people can, customers, I'm telling you, at first we were like, I don't know, like, do you guys maintain it? Yes, we maintain it. What if, we don't want to use the patch anymore? I mean, you could always just default back to the one you were using. The applications, you'll just have those vulnerabilities, right? It's how do you want to get rid of these vulnerabilities? How do you want to get rid of this risk? This is another option to do that. You could spend 8 months upgrading Spring 3 to Spring 4. By all means, it will help you with the SCA portion of it, but then you still have all these. So it's a question of like, how important is this stuff to you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we will give all the information. It's like, yeah, you have a bunch of reachable stuff in here, all that fun stuff. So I figured we'd actually like show this app being exploited. Like we actually do some terminal work and some programming and like actually exploit it, and then show how you would actually implement this patch, and then rescan it again and show that it, they're gone, that they've been fixed. I think that'd be fun. You'll learn some good terminal stuff, Ron.
What was that?
You'll learn some good terminal stuff.
I miss those days.
Did you use the program?
So I used to be a QA engineer for a network security company.
I didn't know that you were a QA engineer for it.
Yeah, so my job used to be, I would build these networking and firewall labs with actual, with firewalls, and I would build like MPLS networks between them, routers and switches and firewalls,
No kidding.
and all that. And I would do a lot of testing on those things and see, if like a packet was intercepted, and I had to learn some very basic like bash scripts and they're very basic Pythons, and then at some point I realized I'm not going to be good at this part of the job, and this is where this job is going, automation. So I sold out, and I've been a marketer ever since.
Sold out. I mean, listen.
Now I'm a full-time streamer,
Oh, you're an influencer.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know that you were full on QA engineer. That's sick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you probably bring that too, right? You bring that to work and on this stuff as well. You do. I see that you do. Like you get stuff pretty quick. Even if it's pretty technical.
When someone tells me, but it works on my machine, I feel that in my soul.
Feel that in my soul. You and me both, brother. Let me just re-auth here. Just gonna re-auth. We're just gonna make sure we're all hunky-dory here. Cool. So I'm gonna be copying some commands and stuff like that. So first thing first, right? Like almost everybody I know, not everybody I know, but most enterprises and most companies will store their components on something like Artifactory or Nexus. And what is that? That's like think of it as like almost like a private GitHub, if you will, where it's like, hey, my company has like approved these components. They've approved these versions of Jackson Data Bind, right? Like, so Artifactory is a very common one. And what they do is they just put all of their components on Artifactory. So it's like, hey, these are the different components and the different artifacts that we have in our Artifactory. Instead of just pulling it from Maven or public repository like PyPy. PyPy is notorious for having like typo squatting attacks, where it's like, oh, you have Py GitHub, but the U is a V, and like that's like a malicious package instead of the actual component name. So instead, they say, we'll pull it from Artifactory. That's where our stuff is. That's where you can get our stuff. So what we can do is you could set it up so that you put our patches in your Artifactory. So like when I go to build this, right, when I do MVN clean package in this application, you're going to see I've already built it, but it'll say like, this opens up, right? This is part of the app, but it'll say like, okay, I'm going to, download this from Maven instead of Artifactory, right? Like I have it set up like that now. So if I actually clear this out, let's start from scratch, and I could say clean package. You're going to see like downloading from repo Maven, Maven, right? These are all found in what's called your settings.xml. Again, this is part of the app. It's part of some of the exploit there. These are found in your settings.xml. So like if you I think I actually have it up here. Yeah. You could see everything's coming from Maven. This is the public place where all these repositories are held, where all these components are. Oh, I need something. Let me grab it from Maven.
And this doesn't change if you are using Artifactory or not.
No, yeah. If you're not using Artifactory, you could still use our patch. That's fine.
Yeah.
What I'm going to show is a more like automated way to do it. Like if you wanted to just use our patches, you would, instead of having Maven here, you would also add Endor Factory is what we call it, Endor Factory. So now like your application knows when you build, oh, let me prioritize Endor Factory for this component that has a patch instead of the publicly Maven one, which is nice. So you could do it like as a one-off if you wanted to, or you could do it what is most common, like in the real world, more automated, like let me just pull it from my Artifactory and I'll have Endor hooked up in there in my Artifactory. So, which is what I have here, right? And I have it set up so that originally, this is what we just saw, we just built the application, it's going to grab everything from Maven instead of Endor, right? So it grabbed everything from Maven. I already did this. I already ran the test, Endor CTL scan, Endor patch. Let me move this thing out of the way. Patches demo. This is the test we already ran and we already saw. That's currently in there.
This is just your SCA scan.
This is just my SCA scan. This is just to show, okay, the dependencies that are being identified are the ones from Maven and not like our patch version. And the one we're going to focus on is specifically this Endor CTL, or this project here. And the dependency we're focusing on is this right here, Jackson Data Bind. This is what we have the patch for. Jackson Data Bind version 2.9.10.3. I think we're like close to like, and I'm probably wrong here, but like it's at least over 100 patches, probably 200 at this point. It's probably a little bit more, but so you can see 16 critical. Remember these numbers, okay? Remember 16 critical, 98 high. Remember those two numbers, okay? So now we can actually like exploit this. So I'm just going to open up a couple more tabs here. Let's go into CD vuln Spring Boot, and we're going to start the Spring server. So Spring server is starting now. And then make this bigger. We're going to do the JNDI. So what this does is there's this, I think they call it a utility that deserializes data. Like this is what one of the things Jackson Data Bind does, is it deserializes data, makes it more secure, all that good stuff. There's this one of these utilities within Jackson Data Bind that's vulnerable that lets you essentially remote code or execute code remotely. So right now, I have these servers running. I have this Spring server running, and I have this this one of these target environments, right? This LDAP server running. Okay. Now, if I go and run this command, let me just grab it from over here. If I post a curl request here, I'm going to cheat and copy and paste. I want to change. What's that?
How dare you?
I know, right? I want to change this LDAP address. So we're going to copy this right here. We're going to throw that in here. Now, you saw in here, JNDI inject exploit, blah, blah, blah. Anything after this -C, it's going to do. So I have it set up to open endorlabs.com. But I could say, you know, RM, RF, all my data. So I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to open Endor Labs. And I'm going to do that by posting to this curl request here. So now when I do that, it goes and then Endor Labs opens up, right? So like, yeah, this is exploited. This is bad. Okay. Now again, if I wanted to fix this, I'd have to make a breaking change and then the application's down and then forget it, right? Instead, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do our patch here. Now, I'm doing all this for demonstration purposes. In the real world, right now, all I have is this Maven org repo and it's prioritized, meaning priority resolution. Meaning when I run Maven install during my build process, it's going to prioritize Maven for everything, right? I don't want that. What I want to do is I want to prioritize the Endor patch. And whenever Maven build sees, okay, I'm going to grab most of the stuff from Maven org repo. However, if I see something in Endor patch that is available instead of Maven org repo, I'm going to prioritize that instead. And I'm going to grab that one instead. So it's going to build. Jackson data bind 2910 3. Anywhere it sees Jackson data bind 2910 3, not just like at the direct level, but another component brings it in, doesn't matter, right? It's going to say, ooh, Jackson data bind 2910 3. I'm going to grab it from Endor patch instead. Anytime I see that. So now we've applied our patch. This is all you have to do. Like, this is it. You don't have to do anything else. And the patches will be applied. So, like, when you want to talk about scale, and it's like, oh, God, how do I deploy this? Like, this is how you deploy it. I'm doing it right now. And if I was an organization with 20,000 Java repos, this would apply to all the Java repos. And then I'm done. That's how this customer was able to fix 35,000 high and critical vulnerabilities by using our patches, which is great. So now we have that set up where we're going to say, okay, priority resolution, basic. We're grabbing, you can kind of see here, we're grabbing it from factory Endor labs. It's going to go to this namespace, all that really, really good stuff. All right. Now, again, I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. This doesn't happen in the real world where I have to do this to my settings.xml. This is already configured for you in your application if you're like an enterprise, but you know, my PC is sick, but it is not an enterprise PC. I mean, it depends on what your definition of enterprise is, right? I mean, it is like, I'm pretty proud. I'll have to send a picture or share one in one of these streams, but like, it's got a 4080 Super, 96 gigs of RAM. It's completely overkill. It is. I recognize that, but
to exclusively use Endor Labs and Helldivers too,
and some AI stuff. I will say that. I will say that's how I justified it to Delilah, to my wife. But
and Bitcoin mining.
And Bitcoin mining. Yeah, right. All right, so let's kill these servers, okay? And now let's clear this out. I made a coloring book with ChatGPT. I used Llama. I did the whole model, and my kids wanted a coloring book, so I made them a coloring book using.
My main use of Midjourney is coloring pages for, like, it's gotten to a point where my girls will be like, you know, I used to just search on Google the coloring pages, but now it's like they want, no, I want a fairy who is also a mermaid, who can swim in lava, who is holding a wand, who is doing this thing, and they get it.
That's the thing. It's just like, Madeline, tell me what you want to color. And her imagination is wild. So it's like, she'll just think of whatever, you know, turtle swimming in space with a magic wand and that. And so, yeah, we can make that.
Yeah.
And then it like entertains them for hours. That's the best part about it. It's like, oh yeah, now I can go color. Plus, you know, my brother has 3 boys. He said they're insane. They would spend 5 minutes coloring and then like just go crazy. So I think it's also, I'm glad I have girls. I'm glad I have daughters. They're very, very sweet. Daddy, can I color? Yeah, sure. Spend an hour. Anyway, so again, I'm just going to clear out. Let's go to .m2. This happens during your build anyway. Like you wouldn't have your repository the same one over and over and over again, your .m2. Like this is just because I'm local. So I'm going to like clear it out and start from scratch again.
So basically, now that you've pointed it at the Endor patch, you're building again, then you're going to scan again?
Yes, I'm going to build again. So I'm going to do clean package. I'm going to skip test this time because it's just quicker. And you're going to see, you see now, it was saying Maven org repo whenever it was building, right? Now it's saying Endor Labs JFrog Artifactory and the Maven virtual as well. So instead of it now pointing to Maven, Apache org, like the publicly available ones, or saying, you know, okay, let's actually go to this Artifactory one, whatever have you, right? It's now pulling from the Artifactory, and it's now going to be pulling from the Maven virtual, which whenever it hits Jackson Data Bind 2910.3 specifically, it's going to pull the patched version of Endor rather than what should we call it? Rather than the non-patch version of Endor. So this will just take another, I think, like 45-ish seconds is
what happens if you know, some other vulnerability comes up, and do we update these patches specifically for a version, or is the patch is what it is forever?
We could technically, chances are we'd come out with a new patch for that. We would just simply come out with a new patch for it. But if like in one of these, oh, there's a newly discovered vulnerability, like we would maintain it and have that fixed. So you could just keep that patch, but that vulnerability would still get fixed in that patch because you paid for the patch to not have vulnerabilities. And again, like somebody vets this, somebody like views this. It's not just we're blindly adding stuff into here. Like this is all, we want to test it. We want to make sure it builds. We want to make sure it tests properly, all that good stuff. Make sure it works. It's really what we want to do. And you can see because I'm pulling from Artifactory, it's taking like a little bit longer, but I mean, like I said, it's like less than a minute. And we're done. Oh, 2 minutes. Okay. All right. So now, if we actually go ahead and scan it, CTL scan, do that. We're going to let that run. Let's just make sure I did my job right. And I hit save. Okay, I did. Advanced. Yep, I hit save. Priority resolution for Endor patch. And then I also did this. So like you can kind of see here, it's going to pull from these Maven virtual rather than the whole shebang there. Actually, this is probably already showing up in here. You can see we're scanning here. Our project is actually scanning. So what were the numbers? They were
so it was 16 critical and 98
high. 16 critical, 98 high. And I think it's going to go to like, what's the number? 4 critical and like 28 high, or 10 critical and 20 high, or something like that. I think that's what it's gonna do. Resolving.
So each patch is relevant to a specific version of one package.
Yes.
Right?
That's right. Yep. Each patch is a version. So if you had, so let's say there was, you know, like this is the one we're fixing now that will show up soon. But like this, these are all the same version, or they're different components. Like Spring Boot starter data rest, that would be a patch. Spring Boot starter test, that's a different patch. This is a patch. This is a patch. These are all different components, so they're all going to be different patches as well. And again, you still get like reachability, you still get all of that, but you don't have to be an Endor SCA user to get these patches. I have to retest it. Let me do one quick thing here.
What did we miss?
What did I miss? I have to reprioritize here. Priority resolution, done, save. Oh, I know what I didn't do. Do that. Cancel. Yep. Good. I have my virtual ones here as well. That's at the top. Good. I think this is what I have to do. Just configure some. There we go. All right, let's clear my M2 cache. Boom, boom, boom. Endor Patches demo. And it's priority. Okay, good. This is what I have to do. Here. Let's do that. Oops. Okay. Things.xml. Good. I did this right before this call, so.
Right before we synchronized our red t-shirts.
That's, oh, you have one too? Yeah. Do you really? Hang on one sec here. Gonna find artifact. Oh, hang on. I swear this was working right before this.
I swear this never happens.
This is the joy of doing it live. Let's go in here. I think that may have been one. It's either that one or the other one. Could have been the other one, yeah. Let's go to the other one here. That one. Okay, boom, boom. Remote. Do that. Oh, perhaps this is why. Tag this project. Use streaming patches. This is why that didn't happen. So we like to use tags for projects.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not want to apply a patch to every project. This is the thing, right? So in Endor, and again, this will be more like a checkbox in the future,
Mm-hmm.
but you put a tag to say, hey, I want this project to use this patch. Because you may not need every project to have it, right? You may only want certain ones. So now I have this tag to say, hey, use streaming patches as well here. So.
And we were looking for that patch and it wasn't there. But that tag.
Yeah. So it was like, well, I don't know which project to put this in. You didn't tell me what, if you wanted this in any projects. So let's make sure this works. Hang on. Let's go into here. And let's just do this one more time. Whoops. I want to only have Maven in here. Repository. Okay. Let's remove. Actually, I want to see what happens if I just do this. Just get rid of the repository instead of that again. Okay, good. That did work. So now it's doing the plugin repos. May have to do this again, but I'm just curious. Let this build on out. We're going to do this again with these. Again, this usually happens with especially legacy Java projects too. A lot of these things happen. by the way, anybody can try this. Like if people want to like actually like play with this and like exploit it and stuff like that, this is on, I believe it's either on our or the Endor Solutions architecture or just Endor Labs GitHub that you can use to do this as well.
This package?
Yeah, this actual application, like this vulns Spring Boot application, which is nice. Oops. See here. Beautiful. Now I do want to see what happens when I do this. Because now I'm just curious. That's a part that's fun with these things. There we go. Okay. I think what happens is Artifactory needs like a second to catch up. I've seen this before where like, here's a pro tip. You make a change in Artifactory and you try to test right away. I remember what was happening now. Artifactory doesn't, it's not like instant. Artifactory takes a couple minutes. So that's why I was getting that error. I didn't like just give it a couple minutes to kind of sync up. And then it's like, oh, I can't find this. But it's because I didn't actually add the things here and give it a second. So I have seen that before. So let's try this again. So it's built now. That's good. Okay, so now I should be able to do this. And now because I have that tag, let me make sure I have this other setting checked off. There we go. Enable auto patching. Okay, good. That's also checked. Again, this is all documented stuff. So if anybody does want to also check out like how to set this up for like automatic patching, see, I forgot this tag. Eventually you'll just be able to like check a box, but we wanted to make it pretty obvious what to do. Or pretty obvious like how to actually apply it. All right, so scanning, good. Give this a second. We'll see that they are gone. Hopefully. These two packages. Jackson data buying, good. Then let's go into here. 7 declared. Go back up. Again, our factory just may need to like catch up a little bit. We're going to resolve everything here. One 13. Why is Jackson data bind still being shown here? Yeah. Give me a sec. I don't know why. I have the tag. Endor Patches demo, good. It's an artifact resetting I have. Maybe it. Sized, okay. Okay, virtual. This could have been it.
What are these? The things that you're pointing back?
These are the configurations for my Maven virtual repositories. So I think what I had set up was that this Maven virtual repository had both Endor patch and Maven org repo in it and was caching them both locally. So it was like, okay, well, Maven said, I see it here, it's here, great, I'm just going to use it again, rather than saying, oh no, it's the Endor patch one I need to have rather than the Maven one I need to have. So that was one of the mirrors there. Okay, so I have those. Let's try this one more time. Let's clear that out. Hopefully Maven has caught up by now. Repository, clear that out. Okay. Only my settings on XML, so that's good. Then I'm going to do again clean. Let's keep the tests. Maybe that was part of the issue. No, Maven needs another minute. Well, maybe that setting was correct after all. But we want to have this one on top. Save that. And then for that one, we don't have that because according to the docs as well, we should only, we could have that. Test Maven virtual. Right, Maven should have both, but Endor should be at the top, along with the other required remote repositories. That's right. Top of the list. Okay, so Endor is now at the top of the list for Maven virtual. It's also, just so we're not losing our minds here, Endor Patches there. Okay. And then for remote, factory, good. Then one actually cool thing that we added was to test the server connection, which is good. So we're getting it from there. We've cleared that out. I'm going to try in here. Let me go virtual, Maven virtual. Okay, good. That's there. Endor patch virtual. Save that there. Okay, good. Hopefully Artifactory has woken up a little bit. Nope, probably needs another second. Because what's happening is failed to find org spring framework boot spring security starter parent and release blah 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 blah. It was cached in the local repository until blah 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 blah. There is a
so this is the equivalent of not clearing your cache on the on
You
Chrome.
shouldn't clear your cache until the update of Central has elapsed. So that's what has to happen, is that it has to actually update. Rerun maybe with the -E switch. No, I don't want to do that. We just have to wait for Artifactory to catch up a little bit. That's all that is. So actually what I want to do, put this back over there, save that. There was a U, I think it is. Hang on, there's a way to force this. There is a way to force this to do it for you automatically. Or for you to do it, like make it actually resync up, which hopefully we can do in the next couple minutes. But for the audience, this is an Artifactory thing, not an Endor thing. Here we go. It is -U. Okay. Let's try -U. This may only work for, yeah. There we go. To force the updates. That's what it is. Server settings, match repository ID, which we did. Again, this doesn't happen in the real world of pipeline building. Typically. This is because we're running it locally on a.
Just use a live customer environment next time.
Yeah, that'll work. Hey, can I just do this real quick for you guys? Don't worry about it.
That will definitely be our last stream when you do that.
That'll be our last day in this industry, is what that'll be.
When you burn it all down.
That would be really funny. Actually, it would be terrible, but all right, so let's do this, and then let's scan it again, and hopefully that should be it. Maven virtual org blah blah blah, because it's pulling from the right stuff there. Maven virtual, and then we see we have Endor patch here, right there. So it should be pulling that down first. But let's see. Okay, thank you. Okay, good.
Have you been owned?
Have I? Oh, dude, I don't know if I even want to know. I'm of the mindset of like, everything's already hacked. People have my stuff. I'm not that interesting of a person. So, there was a scene in this show. I can't remember what it was, but it was like this comedy show where like the guy didn't know his wife, like they were like super rich, and like she bought like a G-Wagon, and the car was like on its own, like kind of like rolling down a hill, or like that was about to go in the pool. And they're like, "Oh, get in the car. We can't get in the car, blah, blah, blah," And he tries breaking the glass, and she's like, "It's not going to work. It's bulletproof glass." He's like, "We're not that important. Why do we have bulletproof glass? We are not that important.
Why was this an essential purchase?
Yeah.
An add-on to this car.
It's like, we're not that important." So I thought that was that's my feeling on like, all right, if you have my stuff, you definitely don't have my bank account, because that is locked down. But who knows? We'll let this scan.
I can't not use like an encrypted VPN for everything, and like those things have stuck with me, and I can't like move past them.
Well, that's your background. It's your background, right? You have all that experience of seeing it, especially as a QA engineer. I'm sure probably saw all sorts of bad stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. I mean, but it's same for you, right? You've been in cybersecurity for most of your career.
Yeah. Yeah, I have VPN, but like
the VPN, the rotating passwords on everything.
Password manager. Have to have a password manager.
Yeah. The randomized password that you don't even know your own password for anything.
That's what the manager's for. It's not my I can't remember. You can't possibly remember it. I will say I don't use the same password on different things. I have a main one just for like getting into my computer, but like everything else is randomized or like a string of words. Like it's like they're phrases instead of like a password.
Yeah.
So it's like
I use
words.
the auto-generated passwords from Dashlane. And yeah, I mean, I do still have too many things that still have the same password from 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Same with like, usernames and stuff like that.
Your
Old
gamer
username.
tag.
Gamer tag, yeah. My gamer tag's ridiculous now, even. All right, let's see if this worked. It, from what I can tell, should have. No. Well, something for next week for me to look into because I have everything set up, I believe, correctly. Artifactory may not be syncing as it should be.
Just pointing at the wrong.
Yeah, it's pointing at the wrong one. It's pointing at the wrong repo, the wrong virtual repo for some reason. So some I'll debug and that we could take a look at next week. But that is how you do set it up. And that's actually going to be a pretty good topic of like, hey, this is how I debugged it. This is what we found, blah, blah, blah. Read only, yeah, namespace. So some that I'll look into. It's going to be something in Artifactory because we share this with our QA team too. So
next week, probably going to be our last one for the year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because
that's right.
Christmas.
It's Christmas.
Yeah, or where we have what my daughters are calling the Hanukkah tree.
The Hanukkah tree? Oh, that's great.
I mean, that wasn't my thing. I mean, my thing is they wanted a tree. I gave them a tree. We have the we have the menorah. We're lighting candles. We're doing the whole thing. But they've decided to like appropriate the tree.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
We're breaking barriers.
We're breaking barriers. We're breaking generational trauma. This is what we're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, next week I'll look into that and then we'll talk about that to start and then we'll do some other fun stuff.
So next week, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. Yeah, and next week it'll work.
It'll work. It's something I'm messing up in Artifactory, I guarantee you.
It's all good. All right. Well, hope this was this was fun for anybody listening. I know Jamie's on.
Hey, Jamie.
Jamie's gonna send you angry Slack messages, right?
I hope he does. I hope he does.
Here's the one thing you should have.
Yeah. One step. You clicked this instead of that. I guarantee you that's what it is.
All right. Have a good weekend, everybody.
See y'all later. Thanks for coming.